All right, hi everyone. I just wanted to touch base with a video message, of course, since we are really at the halfway point of our 5-week journey. So we're getting close to that midpoint. We're getting ready to take our next exam as of this weekend. And again, I just kind of wanted to touch base, keep you on track with where you should be kind of in the syllabus, things to just remember as you're moving through the material, and looking forward and ahead to the last major bits of the course, which are going to be finalizing the last bits of those chapters, but also the research project as well. So with that, let's go ahead and just jump into all aspects of the course. Again, after reviewing everybody's videos and reviewing everything from the exams, biggest things as far as feedback that I can report is simply, making sure to maintain constant screen contact within the faces, right? I shouldn't see, this. I shouldn't see, a very dark kind of shadow where I can't really see what you're doing or looking at. And it's just purely because of the fact that we are just in a fully online remote type of environment. And it's just a way for me to keep everybody as honest as possible without ever needing to accuse anyone of anything. So again, that's just basically my overall feedback as it relates back to the videos. As far as the overall distribution from the grades, the average was a 67. This is pretty standard for a 5-week course. This is pretty comparative to the last 6 years that I've been teaching the class online for the first exam, especially in this type of environment of being a 5-week course, because again, it's a lot of material. And I think that first exam sort of jolts students into, how did I prepare? What did I prepare with? Full honesty of kind of having that internalized conversation of saying, how did we get the information in and when did we sit down to prepare for this? There's plenty of time to bring those grades up if you're not satisfied with it. And also, if you are finding that you are studying for it and you're not coming to meet those metrics, we can absolutely set up some time so I can walk through with you one-on-one, maybe the exam, maybe your study habits. Again, those office hours are fully available for you guys to come and see me, and I please encourage you to do so. So with that being said, let's get into the course. And again, I'm bringing up the distribution here and as far as kind of where we are in the syllabus. For those that are, for those that were my A's and B's and even C's in the exam, nicely done. If there's any feedback you are willing to provide or share with others as to how you achieve that score, any insight is greatly appreciated as well. Anything you'd feel sharing along and passing along to me that I can distribute, or with inside of what I now know is most students form a group me after kind of coming into an online course like this. So just again to reiterate where we are at the halfway mark. Opening page here, you can download a copy of the syllabus, you can download a copy or get access to office hours via this way. Again, thank you to those of you who reached out to me and let me know there was an error in the chapter 8 timeline. Unfortunately, that was carried over and missed by me from last summer's summer course. So thank you. That has been moved to being forward a due date of today. So again, today you will have do your 4 SmartBook assignments. Tomorrow you will have do your labs. And then of course on Sunday you will have your second exam covering the next 4 chapters in the sequence. So let's click on to the modules here. Again, for all of those resources, if we had any information or trouble, this time I was very glad to hear. I did not have anybody have any issues with downloading Proctor or getting access into the exam, which is fantastic. So that means you guys were utilizing the All Things McGraw-Hill Connect. This was actually a new feature I put in this year for students. And I really think these videos, I hope, have really been serving you guys very well for kind of where to go for troubleshooting inside of the Connect platform as it relates to taking the exams. But so far, so good. So hats off to you guys for figuring that stuff out. Okay, moving down then. we have finished week 1 and week 2, right, with all of our assignments. And again, week 2 is just a reiteration basically of week 1. And this past weekend, of course, you took your first exam. So hopefully by now you're comfortable with the flow of kind of how the modules are set up, right? So each of the chapters has the PowerPoint. It also has a review assignment that is underneath, right? That's been open since the beginning of class. Notice it is not worth any points. It is not something that I'm going to give any points for. It's merely there so that after you've completed your assignment, most likely on Sunday when you're wanting to just refresh and think through some of this material again, right? You can have a review, right? You can move through each of these chapters and have a review. And what that's doing is it's taking the SmartBook assignment that you move through, and now you're going to see a whole bevy of questions. So really what I do with the SmartBook assignments is I kind of edit them down just to highlight on some of the major themes that you should have read through in the chapter. Again, that's not all potential questions. It's not all potential material. It's just to see an assessment of how comfortable you are with the material that you've read and some of those topics that are being presented. If you recharge your SmartBook, which is fantastic, most of you probably have picked up by now that you're seeing the same questions again, right? So the recharge is just going to retest you on those same questions. However, the review questions are going to encompass all potential SmartBook questions that could have came at you that, again, are just moving through the major themes, the major topics, the major highlights. These are not questions that you're meant to see verbatim on the exam. That's why they're not the only studied method that you should be utilizing, right? You got to read the book, as mentioned in the very first video of class. So again, these SmartBook assignments are open. They are not worth points as noted here. They're open until the end of class. You can go back and review a previous chapter if you want to. If you think it's something that I remember this topic, I remember something about it, but I kind of need to go back to it. That's why they're available, right? On top of the fact that you have access to the fully online book to move through as well, which you should be doing as part of the requirement of the course. So there are those pieces there. So again, you will have SmartBook assignments 5, 6, 7, and 8 that will all be due today. And then this is one of your heaviest hitting weeks. You're going to have 4 labs due tomorrow. That's a lot, but again, remember, we're taking a condensed version of this course. And so again, we've just got to make sure we're covering all the material that we would normally be covering within a 16-week course. Ending on the fact that you're going to finalize and take your exam 2 that is over any possible topic, any possible graphic, any possible case study, any possible discussion that lies between the pages of that chapters that you have read of 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, again, remember some of these themes may be also being pulled on, the basic terminology of what environmental science is. So where I may not be talking about explicit topics from 1 through 4, some of those foundational things you may see as reoccurring themes in 5 through 8. So again, it's not that it's lost and gone. You're only familiar with 5 through 8 for this next exam. But again, you're sort of laying that foundation as you're moving through each of these subsequent chapters. So after that, then, again, I just want to kind of reiterate, if we go back into, let me just move up here. Again, this will look a little different on my end, just because as the instructor, I've got different access. But there's a couple of the resources some of you have noted in finding, and again, just want to make sure to highlight for everyone. Actually, let me go home and I'll put it in student view so you can see exactly what you all are seeing. Oh. They must be doing some maintenance. I hope not. I don't know. Maybe they're doing maintenance right now. But with that being said, I'm not going to anything different that you wouldn't see. So going to the ebook, right? And let's say, right, we can click on all of the different table of contents, right? And now let's say we're going to start in chapter 5. So I'm going to open with chapter 5. And again, remember, you have some alternative ways that you can move through this material. 1, you can simply just read through it. 2, you can have this read out loud to you. Sometimes people are auditory learners, so sometimes they want to write down notes as if someone's reading it to them. You can change the font size, right? These were all kind of highlighted in the opening video. You can reset activities. You can, do things that are based upon the resources. And over here, right, you notice you've got some other things. You can make place marks. You can make notes. You can highlight some major concepts maybe as you're moving through that you're saying, oh, I kind of want to come back to that, right? And as I'm sure you have noticed in the Smart Book assignments, again, if you're moving through something and it's asking your confidence level, if you're not feeling very confident, right, and you're using some of those resources, it's taking you back to some of the passages of where that would be found inside of the book. So reading through this, remember, again, from page 1 of the chapter all the way through. So again, including things like the case studies, the graphs, right? Interpretation of data, right? All of that is liable to potentially be a question on the exam. I also wanted to point out that as you move through, right, maybe you're like, I don't really remember terrestrial biomes. You can go back and click on those exclusively. And then it has a breakdown, right, in between each section. So my suggestion would be if you're having trouble remembering some of this stuff, go back through and make some highlighted notes. Additionally, at the end of each chapter, as there is in the beginning here, right, some of the major learning outcomes, these are questions that are very high level, meaning a great question. What are the 9 major terrestrial biomes? This is a great kind of, okay, can I stop and I name them? Do I feel confident with them? What are the potential environmental conditions that allow for that distribution? So even though it's a big, broad topic, really it's asking you to encompass the material you have moved through. So if you can answer these learning outcomes as well as at the end of the chapter, right? There's a little bit of a practice quiz, but what you'll notice is that these practice quizzes here, right, are again, very high level types of questions. Some of them are going to be a little bit more detailed than those learning objectives, because now we're going to try and find some nuanced information, like explaining a graph or listing through a chart, right? And so again, this is just another way to kind of play around with some different types of questions that could come your way, right? Because everything is open to possibility. You could have multiple choice, you could have true, false, you could have fill in the blank, you could have matching, you could have, graphical representation, data interpretation, right? And again, thinking through that, graphs that have been highlighted inside of these chapters, you may see that graph, or you may see a graph that's very similar to that, but might not match exactly that information. The reason for that is that it's expanding, it's pulling a little bit on the fact that by now you've moved through a version of this graphical information to, understand how to read a graph, how to understand the X versus the Y axis, how to interpret data that you're seeing on a graph. And so sometimes we see that the graphical information that's being presented in the exam perfectly aligns with information inside of a graphical representation from the chapter. And sometimes you may see some added information as it relates to just interpreting what you see in front of you based on how well you were able to interpret the information inside of the book. That's expected, right? We are teaching you how to critically think through and apply this knowledge into interpretation, right? Into the understanding of the material. So just thinking through those things, again, for the most part, what I'm seeing is nothing out of the ordinary as it relates to, kind of the exam distribution. It's pretty much expected. But, there's plenty of time to still improve this grade. We still have 3 more exams and we still have a major research project that we have to complete. So again, if you're not super stoked with the first exam grade, we can improve that, right? I know it's condensed, but we can absolutely utilize some of these resources. Or again, we can set up some time thereafter and discuss about, how did we prepare? What did we move through? And we can kind of go through step by step the exam questions itself. So I just wanted to take some time here and again, just sort of highlight where we are, that we again are in week 3 of a 5-week course. This is the roughest of the weeks because of the amount of information that you've got to get completed, right? Lots of assignments due on top of also preparing and studying for an exam. You'll notice though, things will start to ease up a little bit in week 4. You'll still have 4 chapters, but again, I've brought it back down to only 3 of those lab exercises. And then by the time we get into week 5, it's only 3 chapters, right? You only have 1 lab exercise, 1 exam, and then you're going to have a research project due. I will be posting a video for you guys on Monday that walks you through step by step of the expectations for the research project, so stay tuned. All I wanted to do for today was just touch base, give you guys an update. Hey, we're at the midpoint of the semester, and to make sure that you're just staying on track and keeping up the great job y'all are doing. So keep it up, fantastic. If you have any questions, please let me know, and good luck on your exam this weekend. I know you guys can do it. Okay, take care.